Okay. So,
And my glue.
tonight's story is going to be
And my glue.
The Little Dutch Boy, 214, because we read 12 Dancing Princesses last. This is Addison's last night
There it is.
going to bed as a 3-year-old. Tomorrow is her birthday.
There's my blue right there.
She will be 4. This is your last story as a 3-year-old, Addie. Don't worry. We'll still read more when you're 4. 214. Let's see. You don't like to be 4?
No, I like it.
Oh, you do like it?
I don't like 14.
You don't like 214? Well, that's where the book starts. Alright, let's see. The Little Dutch Boy. Long ago, there was a boy named Hans who lived with his mother in Holland. As you may know, Dutch farmers had built walls called dikes to keep the sea from flooding their villages and farms. Like most Dutch children, Hans knew that if a dike broke, it would spell disaster. One day, Hans's mother packed a lunch basket for him to take to their friend, Mr. Van Noten. He lived outside of town, and it was a very long walk to his house. On his way out of town, Hans followed the road that ran along the dike. After a time, he arrived at Mr. Van Noten's house. Time spent with Mr. Van Noten was always so enjoyable that Hans lost track of time. So Hans was surprised, sit down please, to notice that the sky had become dark and stormy. He knew he should leave before it began to rain. Although the boy walked quickly, he had not gotten far when the wind began to gust. A cold rain fell on Hans as he struggled. The weather made walking difficult. The strong wind made trees bend low, and it flattened the flowers to the ground. Hans was quite cold by now, and the rain was getting worse. Oh, gosh.
Is that Hans?
That's Hans. That is. Yep.
Is Hans in the cold?
He's cold. He's stuck in the rain. Hans trudged along until he lifted his head and saw the dike in front of him. This meant that he would be home soon. But then Hans noticed that something was wrong with the dike. He could see a small hole in the wall, allowing a trickle of water to seep through. Hans knew immediately what must have happened. The storm had whipped up big waves in the sea and on the other side of the dike. The pounding water had caused the wall to crack. This was trouble. Hans knew he had to warn everyone in town that the dike had sprung a leak. They were in great danger. He ran into town yelling, "The dike is breaking. Help, we must repair the dike." But no one heard him. Every house and store in town was shut up tight against the storm. The doors were bolted and the windows were shuttered to protect against the wind and rain. Not a single person heard his cries. Hans stopped running, caught his breath, and considered what to do. Hans knew that if the hole got too big, the sea would break through and destroy the town. As fast as he could, Hans ran back to the dike. The crack had grown bigger. The crack had to be fixed right away. Hans could think of nothing else to do, so he balled up his fist and pushed it into the hole to stop the seawater from pouring through the hole. Hans felt proud as he stood there, holding back the sea. He was sure that his mother would send people to look for him, but minutes turned into hours as Hans stood there patiently protecting the dike. When Hans did not come home that evening, his mother began to worry. As the rain fell, she kept watch, hoping Hans would return. Eventually, she decided that Hans must have stayed at Mr. Van Noten's house while he waited for the storm to pass. Early the next morning, Mr. Van Noten began to walk to Hans's home. He wanted to thank Hans for his visit yesterday and thank his mother for the tasty food. When he came upon the boy, Hans was trembling with cold. His arm hurt from keeping his fist wedged in the hole, and his legs were ready to collapse from standing all night. Still, Hans had to hold tight for just a little longer while Mr. Van Noten ran into town to find some help. "Don't worry, Hans," said Mr. Van Noten. "I will be back as soon as I can. God bless you. God bless you. You are doing fine. Just hang on a little longer." It didn't take long for the townspeople to arrive and begin working to repair the dike. Mr. Van Noten wrapped Hans in blankets and carried him home to his mother. She put Hans to bed and gave him some warm broth to drink. Then she rubbed his fingers and his stiff legs to warm them up. Word quickly spread through the town about how brave Hans had held back the sea all by himself. The townspeople were very curious. They went to the dike to see the hole that Hans had plugged. As soon as Hans felt strong enough, he and his mother took a trip to the dike to see the repairs that had been made. Everyone was overjoyed to see Hans. They gave him gifts for a hero. Over and over they thanked the boy for saving them from a terrible flood. Hans was very proud. The town's mayor presented the boy with a medal in honor of the strength and courage he had shown in the face of grave danger. Everyone cheered loudly. Years later, after Hans had grown into a man, people continued to call him the little boy with the big heart. To this day, he has not been forgotten. The end. Yep, the end. Good night. I love you. Good night.
Good night, where Dad paid.
I love you.
I love paid.
That's where Hans felt strong enough. That's the end. That's the last page. And then the next story is the Wild Swans. But now it's time for bed. I love you. Good night.
Good night.
Sweet dreams. See you in the morning.
See you, Mama.